good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's stream on my channel. I am Orcata, or affectionately now known, apparently, as Discountula, or Shortstackula, or Orca. Apparently, I'm collecting quite the repertoire of nicknames over the last few days. Nonetheless, I'll be here and I'll be entertaining you for hopefully at least the next hour. This will probably not last the entire 2 hours that I usually do for streams, but we'll see. Also, I do want to let you know that we currently have some severe weather moving into the area. So there is a possibility that I might lose power in the middle of the stream. So we'll see what happens. So I tried to do a stream on Saturday, and on Saturday I wanted to stream some gameplay of the empathy algorithm. So the empathy algorithm is a virtual novel game where you basically are a college student and you are tasked with a beta project where you have to judge an android's empathy level. Well, unfortunately, my computer had other plans on Saturday and it completely crashed. Now, I have been having some issues off and on with the computer over the course of the last several months. And I thought that it was my graphics card starting to fail. And so what I did was, I did not come back after that crash. Instead, what I did was I tried to do some diagnostic testing and everything like that. Come to find out, the issue was not my graphics card, and the reason why I know that it wasn't my graphics card is this. So after the stream, when I rebooted my computer and started to play a YouTube video in full screen, both of my monitors started to flicker rapidly, just like what happened during the stream before the computer completely crashed. And so something was up. That was when I decided to pull my graphics card out of the computer, thinking that my graphics card was going bad. So I unplugged the graphics card and switched over to Intel Integrated Graphics. Well, would you have it? Would you know? I had the same problem. Once again, I played a YouTube video in full screen, and even on the Intel Integrated Graphics, both of my monitors were flickering just like before. And so I knew at that point that it wasn't my graphics card. What could it be? Well, even to this day, I don't know what happened on Saturday. I don't know what the issue was, but what I did was I completely wiped my Windows 11 operating system and reinstalled it from scratch. And it seems to have worked. It seems that the complete wipe and reinstall of Windows 11 fixed the issue, because now I can play YouTube videos in full screen no problem. Now my software is working quite flawlessly. Everything is running smooth right now. My Warudo and VTuber software is working as it should. And so on and so forth. So we'll see how that goes. So today is just mainly a test stream. I'm mainly testing to make sure that everything is working. But I thought instead of being boring about it, I would cover a little bit about the hardware and software that I use for my streams. And maybe those who are into streaming, especially if you're into VTubing, you can perhaps get a little bit of inspiration from what I do. You could read about my technical specifications on my website at orcata.live, but we are going to go over it. And I'm going to showcase to you some of the software that I am using. Now, I did change a few things since since Saturday. So when I reinstalled Windows and reinstalled my software and all of my setup, I did change a few things. I'm kind of experimenting with things that I didn't think really worked optimally. And I'm trying a couple of different new softwares. So the computer that I'm running is actually a custom-built computer. I went to a shop called the Micro Center, located out of I think Hamilton, Ohio. I think is the location. It's around Cincinnati. That's all I can remember. I can't remember the exact city, but it's this massive store. If you thought the Best Buy was big, you haven't seen Micro Center yet. It is a really cool place to go if you're looking to get a custom computer or, an upgrade to your graphics card or what have you. They have a lot of different stuff, really cool stuff over there at Micro Center. And that's where I got this computer. So my computer has a Core i7 at the model 12700K. I went with a Red Devil AMD Radeon RX graphics card, the 6700 XT. I think there was no, I don't think it was the graphics card. I think it was the CPU. The CPU and the motherboard came together. If I got one of them, then I got the other one for just $1, so it was a pretty good deal. We'll get to that in a moment, but AMD, for me personally, has been a really good company in terms of graphics cards. NVIDIA is pretty good as well, but I've had some issues with NVIDIA, which is interesting because a lot of people that I've talked to, especially in the visual pinball community, which is the software that I use to develop the Saving Walden pinball game, they have mentioned that AMD doesn't work well with Visual Pinball X. I've personally had no issues with AMD and VPX. They've worked really well. But some people have mentioned that NVIDIA works better. And also NVIDIA is better for things like artificial intelligence, if you wanted to run AI locally on your computer. And that's because the most AI software uses a framework called the PyTorch, I think it's called. And PyTorch in of itself uses an underlying API called the CUDA in order to utilize the GPU from an NVIDIA graphics card. Now, unfortunately, CUDA does not work with AMD graphics cards. So you really don't, you can't use your AMD graphics card on Windows to run AI. Now, what's interesting to me, though, is that it doesn't work on Windows, but it does work on Linux. There is a way to get AMD graphics cards to run PyTorch on Linux, even though there isn't on Windows. Typically, it's the other way around because Windows has quite a significant market share in operating systems, especially compared to Linux. Linux has only maybe about a 3% market share, whereas Windows dominates at about, I want to say 80%, and don't quote me on that. I could be off by a little bit. But I want to say it's around 80% for Windows. Anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked. Point being, the AMD Radeon graphics card has served me quite well. Then I have the 32 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, and you're probably thinking, why don't I have DDR5? Well, at the time, DDR5 was quite new and quite expensive. It still is very expensive, especially nowadays with the AI bubble, as people have been calling it. RAM prices have surged because there's one of the three primary manufacturers of RAM decided that they were going to stop selling to the consumer market and focus entirely on artificial intelligence and data centers for AI. Boo to them, by the way. Boo. I know everybody wants to chase the whole AI thing because AI is hip, it's trendy and all of that, but you just you know you bleeped a bunch of consumers in the process, millions of consumers. And in fact, Nvidia kind of did the same thing as well, which is another reason why I'm glad that I went with AMD Radeon, is because Nvidia is also turning some of their attention over to uh, more commercial endeavors within AI and gearing a little further away from consumer endeavors. By the way, those storms are starting to come in, so you're going to be hearing the thunder on my stream. And like I said before, there is a possibility that we might lose power. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. I've had a lot of friends within the last several days losing power, so I don't want to join the graveyard with them. So 32 gigabyte to the DDR4 has been more than plenty in my use cases. Even with the games, even with the VTuber software, even with the streaming software, 32 gigabytes of RAM has served sufficient. And DDR4 at 3200 microtransactions per second, it's good enough. For the PSU, I went with a Corsair 750 watt power supply. This was recommended by Micro Center because I don't have much knowledge of PSUs and compatibility of PSUs with the other components within the system. This was recommended by Micro Center. I kind of think that I should have gone with a 1000 watt PSU instead of 750 because there have been a couple of incidences where I was running something that was very GPU intensive and my computer would just completely and immediately shut off. And I think it was because it didn't have enough power getting fed into from the PSU into the system to handle the workload. But for the most part, 98% of the time, the 750 watt power supply serves me good enough. For the motherboard, at the time, I wanted to go with something that supported Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Definitely Bluetooth, because what I'm using Bluetooth headphones. I like my Bluetooth headphones. They offer good mobility and everything like that during a stream. Like I could be on a break or something, and I could use the bathroom, and I could hear the music in my headphones while I'm in the bathroom, and get the sense of how much time I have left before I have to come back. So the tough gaming motherboard with the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support has come in really handy. It's also come in really handy because whenever I take extended vacations over to my mom's house, she does not have an Ethernet port downstairs where I stay. So I use the Wi-Fi functionality of the motherboard to connect to the internet while I'm over there. Alright, let's talk SSD. So the primary SSD is an NVMe SSD 2 terabyte. Of course, you got to go NVMe SSD for your primary device or storage device nowadays. Anything less is just too slow. Especially if you're running games or you're running other intensive applications, you can't settle for less. But I also have a couple of other storage devices. I have a secondary SSD, which I use for virtual boxing. So like if I need to run a Linux operating system for whatever reason inside my Windows, I'll stick the VirtualBox on the secondary SSD because I'm not as concerned about speed for a VirtualBox as I am my primary Windows OS. So the secondary SSD is not NVMe. It's one of those box, the little box SSDs. They kind of look like miniature laptop hard drives. And then I also, of course, have a hard disk drive. Now, people will say hard disk drives are archaic, they're ancient, they have no place in today's time. And I will say I strongly disagree with you. There are still some benefits to having a hard disk drive. One of them being is that hard disk drives are great for archiving purposes. So SSDs, if they sit for too long without being used, they will be subject to something called bit rot. And that's not good for an SSD. SSDs have to be used on a regular basis in order to maintain their health. But, of course, you don't want to use an SSD too much because they also have a limit as to how many times that they can be written to. But you also can't not write to them or the data will disappear. HDDs don't have that problem. And so HDDs are great for storing things for long periods of time. So in this case, I use my HDD to store stream videos. Now, 1 terabyte is not very much space to store streaming videos because a typical 2-hour stream, in my case, takes 5 gigabytes. And if you do the math, 1 terabyte is 1024 gigabytes. So that amounts to about 200 to 250 streams that can be stored on the HDD. Probably more like 200. That's not very many. So I only store the most recent ones, and only the ones that are worthwhile of keeping. The ones that I've offloaded to YouTube, I eventually delete from my personal hard drive since they're already on YouTube. But they're great for temporary storage, like in case if I need to go back to a recent stream to pull a clip or something from it. Alright, for the case, this isn't really all that important, just your generic LAN cool case with some mesh filters and, inlets and outlets for the fans. Cooling, I don't have water cooling for this computer. I felt that was overkill because I don't game all that much, so I'm not going to be using my GPU to high extents for long periods of time frequently. So I just went with the typical heatsink plus fans for a CPU cooler. Alright, and then the monitors. I have 2 monitors set up actually. You definitely want at least 2 monitors if you are streaming. And that's because you can have one monitor to over here to serve as where you put your OBS and your other streaming information so you can monitor your stream. Then you have your primary monitor, which you see right here on the stream, where you run your games and you showcase whatever content that you want to showcase on the stream. Another benefit to having more than one monitor and having at least 2 monitors is that, let's say if somebody suggests like a website or a video for you to check out and play on stream, it allows you to open the website or video on a monitor that you're not streaming. That way you can check to make sure that it's stream appropriate and that you don't dox anything before you actually move it over to the monitor that you're using on stream. So I definitely think, in the streaming world, 2 monitors or more is an absolute must. So I have a 4K monitor as my primary monitor, which is the one that you see right now. And then I have a 1080p monitor as my secondary monitor. I felt that it was unnecessary to have two 4K monitors. I don't need two 4K monitors. For keyboard and mouse, this is where, things can get a little controversial. I just have a basic Logitech keyboard and mouse. People are going to complain, why don't you deck out on a fancy RGB keyboard and mouse, or something with what is it called, comfort comfort gripping, or whatever it is, or ergonomic design. That's what I'm thinking of, where the keys are kind of in a curve shape to kind of match the flow of your hands and your fingers. I don't need that, to be honest. A simple $20 keyboard and mouse is good enough for me. I don't need fancy RGB lighting that only I'm going to see on a regular basis. You're not going to see it because I'm a VTuber. You don't see my camera. You don't see my keyboard and mouse. So why do I need RGB keyboards and mice? I mean, maybe if I were in a dark environment, like if I uh, had the blackout curtains and I had my lights really low in my room, then maybe I would need RGB lighting in that case to see my keys. But I'm not like that. I'm in a pretty bright environment. I don't like dark rooms. Contrary to popular belief, vampires liking the darkness, I like light. I like being able to see. As you can see, I have glasses. I can't see very well. Anyway, that's beside the point. Alright, let's talk microphone. This is one of those things that you also have to kind of really consider as a streamer. You don't want to settle for a cheap $20 microphone that you use on a headset. That sounds like, flip phone quality or whatever you want to call it. No, you want to get something that's at least, mid-grade in terms of quality. You want to get at least a condenser mic or something like that if you're a streamer. I've heard from a lot of people that audio quality is a big make or break situation when it comes to the enjoyment of somebody's stream. So you definitely want a good quality microphone. I originally had a blue Snowball Ice microphone. Those run for about the $40 to $50, and they are pretty good quality for the $40 or $50 that you pay for. They're a nice little budget. Well, they're not really little. They're actually pretty big. They're a ball. That's why they call it the Snowball. It's basically a ball on legs. And they work pretty decently. They have pretty good quality sound. My only gripe with them is that they do pick up background noises very easily. My blue Snowball Ice was able to pick up a fly from 5 feet away, and I'm not even kidding when I say that. It literally could pick up the buzzing of a fly. However, the sound quality and clarity is really good on those microphones. So if you don't have the money to shell out for a really professional microphone, I would go with the Blue Snowball Ice microphone. Now keep in mind that the Blue company has kind of cheaped out a little bit in recent years. Their microphones used to have a nice protective metal outer casing in case if you drop it, the microphone would still usually be intact and functional. Recently, they've been using plastic, and I will tell you from experience, they are not durable. They will break if you drop them on a hard surface. So keep that in mind if you get a blue microphone in 2 days' time. Luckily for me, my blue Snowball Ice was kind of on the fritz, and one of my friends who is moving at the state was giving some of his stuff away, and he gave me his Blue Yeti microphone that he rarely used. And not only is it the Blue Yeti microphone, but it's one of the classic ones with the hard metal outer casing. It doesn't have the plastic one. At least I don't think it does. It feels pretty rock solid to me. Sorry, sorry for the noise there. I was knocking on it. But yeah, so Blue Yeti is kind of a step up from the Blue Snowball. It still has, the great quality that you get from Blue Snowball, but it doesn't pick up on as much of the background noise that the Blue Snowball does. And it's a proper condenser mic too. It's not. It's also not shaped like this weird ball shape. It's shaped like a proper cylinder, I guess you would call it. I don't know if my VTuber tracking is going to really picture it very well with my hands, but yeah, it's a cylindrical microphone, so it can fit the most mic arms and boom mounts and things like that. If you are into that, I'm just using the default stand that it came with. Hello, Taki Aquatic. How are you? Welcome to the stream. We've lucked out so far. Our power hasn't cut off, and my computer has been cooperating. Nice, nice. Those who are tuned in, Taki is part of a few of us. We are kind of collaborating together on a new VTuber group. You'll learn more information about this group over time. Taki says, thank goodness it would be bad to lose power during stream. Indeed. Now the storm hasn't fully come through, but I think the worst of it has come through. I barely even noticed it, to be honest. There was maybe 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder and a little gust of wind. The National Weather Service, I think, kind of over-exaggerated a little bit on that storm. But I digress. So we're talking about my streaming setup, and I'm kind of going over some of the hardware that I use, and I'm also going to showcase some of the software that I use for anybody who may take inspiration from it. I just finished talking about the importance of choosing a good quality microphone. I've had a lot of people tell me that microphones and sound qualities, they can be the make or break deal breaker for a good and enjoyable stream versus a bad one. Alright, let's talk cameras. Oh, out of curiosity, Taki, what kind of microphone do you use for your streams? I guess I could ask the same thing about the camera, since I'm about to cover cameras as well, or cameras or tracking, that kind of thing. Now, a lot of VTubers, they'll use tracking devices. So tracking devices are basically little sensors that you put on your body, and they could also be... Now, I could be wrong because I'm not very familiar with the virtual reality, but to my understanding, VR headsets might also have like infrared sensors that could be used for tracking as well. But I'm cheap. I'm poor. I can't afford that kind of thing. So I just use a basic webcam. I'm using the Logi 2017 Brio 4K camera for my tracking. I don't even have an iPhone. Some VTubers who don't use sensors, they'll opt for an iPhone instead for tracking. And for good reason, too, because the iPhone camera is immaculate. The iPhone camera can support depth of field detection, I think it's called. Basically, it can determine the depth of objects. It can paint a 3D plane of what it's looking at. And it helps a lot with VTuber tracking. But I'm not going to shell out $1,000 for an iPhone. Tucky says, I use a Shure MV6 for my mic. Oh, Shure MV6, my bad. I've heard of Shures before. Shures are very popular in the broadcasting industry. I used to work for a college radio station for a while as an engineer, and we used Shure microphones in our studio. It's really good and high end, saving up for my MV7, but that's more for if I want to have a podcast level mic. My camera is actually my phone. Yep, we were just talking about that. iPhone 16 Pro. The facial tracking on it is the best that the money can buy. I've tried other mics and cameras in the past, but these I have are just too great. I will agree with you. Shure is a really good microphone. An iPhone is a really good camera, so you have a really good setup there. It's just unfortunately one that's out of my personal budget, so that's why I don't have it. I do have a secondary camera, but I rarely use it nowadays. It's just a basic TechNet 1080p. When I did roll for sandwich streams, I used that secondary camera in addition to the Logi because I needed the Logi to do my VTuber tracking, and then I needed the secondary camera to showcase the sandwich that we were building. Now, hold that thought because we may be doing that again in August when I go visit my mom for a 1 to 2 week vacation. So there is a possibility that I may be doing roll for sandwich streams again. So if you don't know what those are, they're actually pretty fun. I would highly recommend that you check out the YouTuber by the name of Adventures in Ardia on YouTube. He does a series called The Roll for Sandwich, and basically what that is he uses dice to determine what ingredients he puts on his sandwich, and then he has to eat it and critique it. He comes up with some really strange combinations sometimes, and some of them surprisingly work, and others not so much. It's a really fun series to watch. We've been doing our own periodically whenever I see my mom for vacation. Alright, and now we get into some of the fun stuff. I get to showcase some of the software that I use. So, obviously we have OBS Studio, the gold standard for streaming. Now, I don't use Streamlabs OBS or any derivatives of OBS personally. I just use stock OBS, although I do use the Atom Stream Suite plugin. And this is a plugin that I would also highly recommend that other streamers check out. Because the Atom Stream Suite plugin has a lot of cool features and it's also free. I'll get to that in a second. Taki says, that reminds me of the episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon lets all of his decisions in life be made with a D20. That sounds like a typical Sheldon thing to do. But yeah, it's kind of on a similar vein. Some people have done other spin-offs, like there's a Roll for Barbecue. I don't know if he's doing that anymore. There's Roll for Sushi, which was a really interesting one. And I kind of like that one. I kind of wanted to try that one for myself as well, but sushi can also get quite expensive. And then there's Roll for Rations, which is the newest one that I saw. So, people are coming up with some creative derivatives of the Roll for Sandwich series. Alright, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the OBS and the Atom Suite, Stream Suite plugin. So Atom allows me to have multiple canvases in OBS. Now, what that means is, what I could do if I wanted to, I'm not doing it yet, I could stream a horizontal canvas, which is what you see right now for desktop computers and tablets and laptops. And at the same time, I could stream a vertical canvas for mobile phones in portrait view. Now, I'm not doing that because I'm not so sure my hardware is going to be capable of doing multiple canvases while also doing graphic intensive things like game development. But the feature is there, and I do know another VTuber who takes hard advantage of that feature. What's really cool about the multiple canvas situation is that you can have different things. You could separate out different things. So the VTuber, of course, has all of their overlays and their VTuber model and everything put together for their stream output. But then they use separate canvases to record their game versus their overlays versus their VTuber model. And that comes in really handy when they make clips and other VODs and down the line. And I thought that was really a really cool concept, recording all of those separately, because then you can take the VTuber video track, put it wherever you want on the game, or apply different effects or whatnot to it, and I thought that was really cool. So Atom allows you to do that. Of course, another big thing about Atom is that it enables you to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. Now, of course, it uses your own internet bandwidth, so you have to keep in mind, you have to make sure that you have the speed, the internet speed, in order to do it, but it gives you the capability. So you could stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time, for instance. Now, that is different from Restream, for example, because with Restream, you're only streaming you're only sending out one stream, and Restream takes that stream and sends it to multiple platforms for you. So if you don't have a very good internet connection, or if your speed is not that great, you will still probably want to use a third-party service like Restream. But if you do have the speed, I would highly recommend using Atom's Stream Suite if you want to stream to multiple platforms. Atom Stream Suite also has some other functionality. I don't use it all that much, but it separates your live scenes from your build scenes, so you could manipulate your scenes and sources without it actually going live on stream until you want it to. So maybe you're in the midst of a 2.0 debut or something like that, and you want to modify your scenes and sources and everything like that, but of course you don't want to use them live yet. So you could easily do that under the build tab, and then once you actually want to start using them, you can move them over to live, and then everybody could see them. It's really handy and really cool. Alright, so I'm going to talk a little bit about stream automation now, and that we come to Mix It Up. That's what I use for stream automation. Different streamers use different things. Some streamers use Streamlabs, some people use Streamer.bot, which Streamer.bot is actually a really good one. I've used it before as well. There's also Stream Elements, but I did hear that Stream Elements is struggling a little bit. They're looking for a buyer right now. So hopefully somebody can keep them alive. There's also Firebot, I believe. I've tried Firebot before, and Firebot is also really promising. I like what Firebot is doing, but it didn't quite have everything that I needed just yet. So that's why I'm still using Mix It Up. And Mix It Up is really nice because I can have all of my redeem commands in here, and as a web developer, it's really handy because that's where I created all of my custom widgets that you see. So I'm gonna drag this off here for a second. Bring up. Now look at my screen here. Don't actually look at the overlay, but look at the screen of my overlay here, so you can see my cursor. Select the colony scores widget down here, the goal widget, stream boss widget, and the little info bar down here. The recent chat, and even the animated birds slash bats that you see in the background periodically. Those are all things that I set up in Mix It Up. And then, of course, the redeems as well also are set up in Mix It Up. So it's really nice. Some of the stream games that I have are also set up and Mix It Up. You'll see some of the stream games in about 15 minutes when I take my top of the hour stream break. You'll get to see the interactive games in progress and get to play them. Of course, they have all of those different triggers. It can integrate with different services. So if you have Discord, you can integrate with the Discord bot. So if you have your own VTuber server, which I do, right here, when I go live, you can have that bot, well, I have Sapphire posted in there this time, but you can have the bot post something in the stream. I'm sorry, in the Discord server. You could set it up with other things like donor drives, so you can trigger some sort of alert when you get a donation. The if this then that service. So like let's say if you have some smart light bulbs, some Philips Hue light bulbs in your bedroom or something like that. Maybe what you could do is you could set up something and Mix It Up where if you get a redeem or somebody donates or something, all of the lights in your room flash green or something like that. So there's endless possibilities with if this then that. There's also other services that kind of work similarly. Belt Studio is another streaming software like OBS. And of course, you can integrate OBS Studio, and that's what I did. So what I did is I have Mix It Up integrated with OBS, and then what I have is these, I created these manual action groups here. So these are like groups of commands and tasks that execute all at in sequence. So that way, because I don't have a Stream Deck yet or hotkeys or anything like that. I'm too poor for that. But what I can do is I set these up and Mix It Up. So when I go live, I just click the play button on whichever group of actions that I want to execute, and it will do that. So when I go on break, I will be clicking the play button for, not that one, for return shortly. And it has all of the commands and everything for running those interactive games that I was talking to you about. So you'll see that when I take my break. So as I mentioned before, another thing that's nice about of course, Mix It Up is you can design your own widgets and overlays and everything like that, providing that you know a little bit of JavaScript and HTML and CSS. So like, for instance, my Stream Boss widget is custom made. So they have a nice little HTML editor, CSS editor, and JavaScript editor. And they have some documentation to tell you what their API is and how that works and everything like that. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty technical details because that'll probably fly over most people's heads. But it's a very cool program. And another thing that I use Mix It Up for is I use a custom currency called Ducats. So instead of Twitch channel points, I use Ducats because I can control how many Ducats people earn for what actions. So like with Twitch channel points, I can't manually give people channel points, which is unfortunate because like, what if they say something really funny in the chat that I like, or something that's really insightful? What if I want to reward them for that? I can't do that with Twitch channel points. So Mix It Up has the custom currency thing. So I just set it. So now everybody has ducats, and there's a command that you can use to see how many ducats that you have. Exclamation point ducats. And then you can use that for redeems. So when you go into the Twitch channel points section on my channel, each redeem, of course, it says it only costs 1 Twitch channel point. And that's for a reason, because I'm not using them. But it will tell you how many ducats each redeem costs. And then when you trigger it, it will deduct the ducats, if I can talk, and trigger the redeem. And another thing that's nice about using custom currency is that it's cross-platform. So YouTube doesn't have something like this. They just have super chats, which, you know, super chats are nice, but they don't have redeems. So what's nice about the currency, the custom currency and Mix It Up is you can allow your YouTubers, when you're streaming to YouTube, to also redeem things. So they'll have ducats as well. And in that case, since so YouTube doesn't have Twitch channel points or anything like that, you would use a chat command to execute the redeem. So the way I do it is in Mix It Up, you have your Twitch channel points here. So for every redeem, I have a Twitch channel point set up, but it just simply triggers the relevant command for that redeem, and then the command itself is what does the actual effect and deducting the ducats and everything like that. That's what I do. Oh, another cool thing about the Mix It Up is this little music player. And you may be asking, well, why do I need a music player in my streaming software when I could just use Spotify or VLC music player or something like that? And you could, but you would have to get a separate widget or overlay in order to display the now playing information on your stream. But if you do it in Mix It Up, they have a nice little on song change thing here, and you can have things happen on each change of the track in the music player. So for instance, whenever a new track plays, you'll see what is playing down there in the bottom of the stream. So yeah, a lot of really nice features in Mix It Up. So definitely worth checking out. Streamer.bot is even more customizable than Mix It Up is. However, it's also a little bit harder to use than Mix It Up, so I will give you that. So if you're looking for the utmost customization, I would recommend Streamer.bot. If you're looking for a lot of customization, but something that is a little bit easier to set up and use, I would recommend Mix It Up in that case. Oh yeah, and another thing that I didn't show you is what's nice is that the Mix It Up has something called web request action. So for instance, I have a redeem where you can throw things at me. Of course, Mix It Up can't do that because Mix It Up doesn't control my VTuber character. But what it can do is it can execute like a JavaScript here, WebSocket request, and send that WebSocket request to my VTuber software. And then that triggers the throwing of the stuffed animals. It's pretty cool. And then like the colony points, so when everybody gets assigned to one of the 4 colonies and then they do something to earn points for the colony, that's a web request to the website. That way the website can keep track how many points each colony has, and you'll see it on the website. Same for the like when I go live and everything like that. That it also makes a web request to the site so that it can display this little pop-up when you visit the website. All right. I know I'm not quite at the top of the hour just yet, but I think this would be a good time since I spent a lot of time talking about the mix it up. I think this would be a good time for me to take a break because I'll probably be spending at least another 10 minutes or so talking about the Walrudo. So we'll go ahead and take our top of the hour break. So everybody stick around and we will be back in about 5 minutes. Alright, so welcome back to our stream where I am going over my streaming setup. Kind of, this is mainly a test stream to kind of see if my configuration is working. Because back in Sunday, I had to wipe out the win and reinstall Windows for graphical reasons, having a lot of graphics issues, and apparently it was not my graphics card causing those issues. So today is mainly a test stream to make sure that everything is working correctly and everything sounds good and everything like that. And as part of the test stream, just so it's not completely boring, I'm just going over my streaming setup and some of the software that I use in case if it inspires anybody, especially those who are VTubers. So before the break, I got done talking about the Mix It Up, which is the software that I use for my automation and my overlays, and also my redeems. Now we're going to move on to what I use to render my. Actually, before I do that, we'll talk about my VTuber model, Vroid Studio. And I don't think I don't think I reinstalled the oh, I did install Vroid. Okay. I didn't think I installed it yet. I never opened it yet. I already know how to use Vroid. So, Vroid is a nice program for those who want to get into VTubing but don't yet have the money to commission somebody for a custom model. You know, models can get very expensive. Now, there are a lot of pre-made models that you can select from online and use those. Some of them for free, but they, they're this, because they're out there and pre-made and anybody could use them. Uh, they're not unique to you. And not only are they not unique to you, but sometimes they have some terms and conditions that go along with it. Like you can't monetize your stream or receive any income if you're using it, or you have to attribute the artist who made the model, things like that. If you want to make something that's relatively custom and personal to you, that's where VWord Studio comes in. And they have unfortunately, there isn't yet an option to make a 2D model for free easily, but there is a VRoid Studio for making a 3D model fairly easily for free. And actually, that's what Orcata, me, I am made in VRoid Studio. So what you would do, I'm actually just going to open the one that I have. They have specific VRoid files. This might actually be the old version. Yeah, this is the old Orcata. We got to go open the new Orcata. Which is an Xroid file. There we go. That's my most up-to-date model because I fixed the shading, added more realistic shading to it. So yeah, you have a whole bunch of different options for setting like facial features, colors. You could colorize everything. You could change the position and the size of different components of your VTuber model. You could add accessories like this hat. Is an accessory in VRoid Studio, and you could even customize the textures of everything. So I customized, as an example, I customized the texture of my hat. And what you do is you just go under Edit Texture. You could either edit the texture within VRoid Studio. They have a very simple painting program where you can paint on top of the model or on top of the object or on top of the texture image itself. Or what you could do is you could export the original texture to an image file, and you could open it up in your favorite image editor, whether that's, GIMP or Photoshop or Krita, what have you. And then you could edit the image, save it, and then re-import it into VRoid Studio. And actually, that's the pipeline I use. I exported the default texture, edited it in GIMP, and added my logo along with some stars all around the hat. And then I put it back into VRoid, and there's my custom hat. I also did the same thing for the vampire cape. So the original cape came in two variants. I purchased the cape. So not only do you have a lot of free options in VRoid, but you can also go to something called the Boot Store if you want additional options. And these options are contributed by the VRoid community, so other VRoid users. What they'll do is they'll design textures and accessories and things like that, and you can download or purchase them from the Boot Store. And what's nice about the Boot Store is a lot of these things, a lot of the items on the Boot Store are not that expensive. You could see here, let me increase the size so you could see it on stream. Some of these, like this one, 600 Japanese yen. If you're not familiar with how currency conversion works, you might think that 600 is a lot. But actually, it's not that much. It's only about 3.7 US dollars. For this 4,000, you could get an entire VR chat model. Now you cannot use VR chat models in VRoid Studio, but if you use VR chat, they do have VR chat models. And like this one, 4,000 Japanese yen, you could get an entire model for 25 US dollars. So they got a whole bunch of things on the Boo Store. One of the things that I did buy from the Boo Store for Orcata is the vampire cape. This thing. However, this is not the original color that it came in. It came in two different variants. It came in a red variant and the blue variant that you see here. However, both the variants had a gold trim instead of a silver trim. I did not think that the gold trim suited the aesthetic of Orcata. Being that Orcata is, this bluish, I'm a bluish vampire. I don't know why I'm talking about myself in third person, but being that I am a blue vampire and I have this, shadowy blue gray aesthetic, I did not think gold would suit me very well. So what I did was I went into the outfit. I can't remember. Yeah, it's a top. And I edited the texture. And I edited the cape. And I changed all of the gold lining to silver. And then I imported it back into VTube Studio. But that was the only thing that I purchased from Booth. Everything else on the Orcata model was available within the stock VRoid Studio program for free. So in the end, I only ended up spending a total of about $3 US. And that was just for the cape. Oh, another thing I did do is I removed the neck part of the cape. A lot of vampires they have that the neck cover, which is it looks really cool. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it suits me very well. I like it without the neck cover. You can see my face a little bit better that way. I also don't appear as reserved. Like when you have that neck cover, it's almost like if you're covering, part of your face or something like that. Like if you're kind of shy or reserved or something. Um, I didn't want that. So yeah, VRoid Studio, and then that exports as a VRM file, and then you can use that the VRM file in several different programs. You could actually edit the file in Blender if I recall correctly. So if you, or Unity, I'm sorry. So if you wanted to add even more customizations to your model, you can do so in Unity. And then you can take your final VRM model and use it in programs like Warudo, VZFace, XR Animator, VNeon. Those are the four that I am aware of. There might be other ones out there, but those are the four that I am familiar with. The one I choose to use out of all of them is Warudo, mainly for the customization capabilities. Out of all four of them, Warudo has the most configurability. I can do a lot more with Warudo than I can with pretty much any of the other programs. Now, the caveat, though, is that Warudo's stock tracking, I guess facial tracking and expression tracking, is not all that good. And I'm still looking for a way to improve that, slowly but surely. But it is a necessary evil. Each of the programs have their own pitfalls. Like VZFace is pretty good with um, mouth tracking and pretty decent with head tracking, but they don't have hand tracking. And I wanted hand tracking and body tracking. XR Animator can do full body tracking. However, it doesn't work very well with webcams. I noticed it's kind of like jittery. The movements are jittery. Like when I'm still, it's not still. The model is not still. When I'm still and in real life, the model is still kind of jittering a little bit. XR Animator also uses quite a bit of system resources. And then VNeon is a really good program. I like VNeon because it can do all of those things. It has the hand tracking, the expression tracking, and whatnot. But it doesn't have as many default options. So like if I wanted an idle animation or an idle pose, or if I wanted some default props that I don't want to have to go online and download a bunch of props. I just want to be able to use something that's available right there. VNeon doesn't have any of that available right out of the box, but Warudo does. And the nice thing about the Warudo is it's on Steam, so it utilizes Steam. So yeah, this is Warudo. At least this is the rendering window. That's not the main window. This is the main window. And so as you can see, you have your different elements. These are the defaults. So you have a camera. If you're using camera tracking, it also supports sensors like what is it? Leap motion. I forget what it's called, but it has tracking capabilities of sensors and VR as well. But I'm using camera, so it has a camera. And what's actually really cool about Warudo that I can't do in any of the other programs is tone mapping and color grading. So I have this LUT texture that I apply on top of my model to kind of give it more of that dark, shadowy, blue-gray vibe. And it kind of makes the model mesh more with the background that you see behind me, the forest. And then there's also ambient occlusion, which kind of gives more of a 3D depth to the model. So I look more 3D, like it gives more shadows to my model. I look more, I don't know, I look less generic, I guess you would call it. And they got other effects too. You could put yourself in an environment, which is really cool. So you can use, they have a few default environments that you could choose from when you first download Warudo. And then some community contributed environments that you could also download from Steam, the Steam Workshop, and use those. And those are basically like 3D environments that you could place your character in. I'm not going to select any right now because then I'll screw up all of my settings for lighting and everything like that. But like you could have a like a cyberpunk computer desk or something like that. Or you could be in a forest, or you could be in a Japanese garden, or you could be at a haunted house. There's a lot of different possibilities. And of course, you have your lighting controls, so you can add different lights that shine on your model and in the environment. I just have one for now. You have your character things, so you could configure the expressions, the animation, breathing, tracking, things like that. You have your tracking itself, so you can recalibrate things. You could set the sensitivity. You could determine if you want hand tracking, and so on and so forth. And then if you want, this is where things get really, really nerdy. If you want the utmost possible configuration capabilities, you would go in the blueprint section. This is where you got your node graphs of everything. So like you got your face tracking graph here. You got your pose tracking. So you can configure every little thing in Warudo and how it works. So like this is what I'm looking into in terms of trying to improve the tracking capabilities of Orcata. I'm sure there's something out there online somewhere, like somebody might have, published a blueprint that has much better logic and everything for moving your facial features and everything like that than what Warudo has by default. But I just haven't found it yet. And then what's also nice is that you can integrate it with like Twitch, for instance, and you can have redeems. As I mentioned before the break, like I have a redeem where you can throw plushes at my character. I have a redeem where you can squirt a squirt gun at my character, and that can be controlled by this blueprint. So yeah, Warudo is highly, highly configurable, and that's why I chose Warudo over the other ones in terms of VTube software. Now, don't get me wrong, the other software is good. It's just I wanted something highly configurable. Now, a lot of people have told me, that Warudo it's difficult to learn, and they're not wrong. Warudo can be a little bit overwhelming, especially for those who are new into the VTubing scene. Even I am not completely knowledgeable of everything that Warudo does, and I probably never will be. But it's just the fact that you can control so much that enticed me to Warudo. Alright, I'm having some more sinus issues again. Sometimes this happens when I'm talking for a long period of time, and I don't take the time to breathe through my nose. My nose gets clogged up. So what I have to do is, to help unclog it, is I have to eat something spicy. In this case, I have a sack of extra Taco Bell Diablo sauces. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take a Diablo sauce shot, and the key is to hold it in your mouth for a while to let the spice really get to your sinuses. So please bear with me for the next few seconds. You may see me make a few faces in the process. Hmm. Okay. Now we got to let the I got to let the spice work its magic. My voice is also going to sound a little raspy for probably the next 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, I'm going to talk about some of the other software that I use. Alright, so this is one of the changes that I made since I reinstalled Windows on Sunday. Previously, for my audio processing, I used a program called SteelSeries GG. Um, and it was a pretty decent program. I kind of liked some of the features that the SteelSeries had. It had the ability to apply an equalizer to your different channels. It also had like an AI noise reduction thing. So that came in really handy when I was coding because my keyboard and mouse is really close to the microphone. But unfortunately, SteelSeries GG did not work very well with my Bluetooth devices. What would happen is that my Bluetooth devices, if they disconnected from my computer, and then I would have to go and reconnect, SteelSeries would have trouble recognizing them. Even if I were to select the device in the settings menu, if I go and select the device, it wouldn't select it until I restarted my computer. And it was getting very annoying. So I changed programs. Now a lot of streamers will highly recommend VB Audio, like Voice Meter Banana, Voice Meter Potato. And, I could see that. Those are really good programs, and they have a lot of capabilities. Like you could control the volume, you could apply a few different effects, you could apply a compressor, things like that. And the nice thing about the voice meter is that it creates separate uh, it creates virtual audio channels, like virtual it creates audio channels that you can then use to route your different applications. So, like if you want something to go out on stream, but you don't want something else to go out on stream, you could do that in Voice Meter. But there's two reasons why I also did not choose Voice Meter. One being is that it has, just like with all of the other programs, it has a finite number of virtual outputs that you can use, and it's not dynamic either. Oh, Luna, welcome to the stream. Kata, what is the do not redeem option? You never I apologize. I might be coughing a little bit because about 3 minutes ago, I took a shot of Taco Bell Diablo hot sauce because my sinuses were clogging up. So the remnants of the hot sauce is still going through me right now. Crazy FS though. What do you mean? Oh, crazy frame. Wait, what? Crazy FS. I'm not sure what you mean by FS. Oh, for sure. Um, what does the do not redeem option? Well, why don't you redeem it and find out? Do you have enough? You have 101 ducats. Let me check. Actually, I'll just redeem it for you. I'll give you a free redeem of the do not redeem. How's that?
Do not redeem! Do not redeem the card!
What?
Do not redeem the cards!
Yes, I'm
Do not
redeeming the
redeem
card.
the
I'm
card.
redeeming the cards.
No!
Okay?
No! No, no,
Yeah.
no, no! No!
That is do not redeem. I don't know, Luna. Have you seen that viral clip before? Uh, it's that what's his name? Kit Boggy or something. I forget off of the top of my head. He's that guy on Twitch that likes to waste time of Indian call scammers. He had this moment where oh, you definitely need to check him out. He has a lot of golden moments, and that was one of them. So one of the things that he does is he is famous for playing a very stupid elderly person. So stupid that his whole point is to waste the scammers' time so that the scammers are not scamming actual legitimate victims. And one of the ways he does that is he plays a stupid elderly person. And what they'll do is the scammer will walk him through getting gift cards. So, like for Google Play or something. That's a popular scam. The scammer will have you get gift cards, and then you have to type in the redeem code into a fake website, and then they'll steal the redeem code and therefore steal your money. But what he did was so the scammers will tell you to type it into the box, but not to click redeem because they want to redeem it for themselves. But what he'll do as a stupid elderly person is he'll pretend that they said redeem instead of don't redeem, and he'll redeem the code for himself. And this pissed off one scammer so much that he raged and was like, do not redeem! Do not redeem the card! And that clip just went viral online. There's another famous clip. You might be able to find it on YouTube if you type in "do not cut up the card," which is funny. I forget what the premise was for that scene, but he was pretending to be a grandma. That something about he was cutting up the gift cards because the scammer asked him to get. Oh, I remember. I think I remember what it was. The scammer's English wasn't that great, and the scammer asked them to get 20 pieces of gift cards. What they really meant was get 20 gift cards. But she said 20 pieces of gift cards. So he played a dumb elderly lady, took it literally, and cut the gift card up into 20 pieces. It was fabulous. Yeah. It was hilarious just listening to the scammer. She was defeated at that point. All right. So yeah, that was the do not redeem, and then I have other redeems on there as well. All right. So I'm talking about some of the stuff that I use for my streaming setup, and I got to audio processing here. As I mentioned, I don't use Voicemeeter. Two reasons. That's where I left off. I don't use Voicemeeter either, despite it being very vetted. And there's two reasons for that. One of them being is that the number of virtual outputs and inputs that it creates is static. So once you install Voicemeeter, you get the set number of inputs and outputs, and that's it. And it's the same for all of the other programs, including SteelSeries. You get, in SteelSeries case, you get two virtual outputs. One for your microphone, one for your stream. And that's it. I came across Elgato Wavelink, and I'm surprised I didn't know that it existed sooner. Because not even AI suggested this program to me, so if this is Elgato Wavelink here, it's a really simple audio routing program, and that's what I'm using now. And what's nice about Elgato is that the creation of virtual channels is dynamic. So if I were to click, right now I have 3 virtual out channels. So if I were to go into my sound settings on Windows, you can see those, well, these are inputs, but if those are outputs. Where's my, I might actually have to open up Audacity to show you, because those are input devices, not output devices. But the point being, you could see each of those 3 mixes in the recording devices. So I can have a mix for what I hear in my headset, which is my personal mix. I have a mix for what goes out on stream, which is what you hear. And then I have a chat mix, which is, in the case that I'm doing a collaboration, what the guests hear. And if I wanted to, I could add additional mixes dynamically in Elgato, and they'll immediately show up in my Windows sound devices. None of the other programs can do that. So it's really, really nice. And then another nice thing about Elgato is you can have up to 5 mixes, 5 different audio outputs. Not even, I don't even think Voicemeeter could go that high. I think Voicemeeter's limit is 4, if I recall correctly. SteelSeries will only let you have 2. And there was another program I tried, I forget the name of it, but it also had 2, I think. 2 wasn't enough for me. I need to have at least 3 so that I can have one for my headset, the stream, and then people who are listening on Discord. But if for whatever reason I need a 4th one, I could just click the plus button. I don't have to install additional drivers or restart my computer or anything. I just click plus and boom, I have a 4th channel now. And if I open up Audacity, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. The text might be too tiny, but oh, it actually doesn't show up. Maybe I have to actually add something to it and then name it. We'll just do that. Just for testing purposes. I actually haven't played around with this yet, so this is new territory for me. Got mix, personal mix, stream mix. Okay, so there it is, record mix. So there's the 4th channel that I just created. It's there in the recording devices. And I didn't have to install drivers or restart my computer or any of that. Now, it does sort of mess with the devices a little bit. Like right now, now I can't hear anything out of my headset. So I do have to kind of play around with it a little bit. Oh, I know what happened. It's because I selected my headset for that other channel and moved it other channel. Okay, that resolved the issue. So yeah, that's why I chose Elgato. So I'm using Elgato Wavelink now for my audio processing. And in terms of like compression and noise reduction, Elgato has that as well. So if you noticed on my Yeti mic, this was green. This little wave form is green. It's because I have effects applied to it. I have a compressor and I have a noise removal effect applied to my microphone. So Elgato also supports that, which is really nice. And then what's also nice is you could have a virtually unlimited number of input channels as well. So I created one specifically for Mix It Up. So like sound alerts that come through Mix It Up. I want to be able to hear them on my headphones, but I don't want those noises to go out on stream or for my guests to hear them. However, I also wanted a separate monitor device for OBS because I want to be able to hear what's playing through OBS, but I also want my guests to be able to hear that as well. I have a separate device for that as well. So it's highly configurable. And like I said, I would highly recommend that you check out Elgato Wavelink. So far, I've not run into any issues, personal issues with Elgato, other than a couple of hiccups with the transitioning between audio devices. But unlike SteelSeries, when I had to do a full computer restart, so far I haven't needed to do that with Elgato Wavelink. Alright, we already talked about the VRoid Studio. Let's talk about the Desktop Mate. So sometimes on my stream, actually I don't have that program installed right now. I have to reinstall it, but there's a program called the Mate Engine. Sometimes on my streams, I will have a little red-headed animated woman on my desktop, and she'll just idly animate and do a few things while I'm working. It's just basically eye candy. And that's run through Mate Engine. And what's nice about the Mate Engine is that you can use VRoid models as your desktop mate. So Divinity, the redheaded girl that I have on stream, she's a model that I made in VRoid Studio. Alright, so let's finally get into some other stuff. Let's talk about the website. The website is something that I coded myself. Give me one moment here to go into the proper folder. Alright, here is the source code for the directory that contains the source code for the website. So it's written in PHP for the most part, PHP and JavaScript. So I have like different pieces, different parts of the website that are rendered together to create the full website. And then I use Bootstrap 5 for the theme and the colors and the styles, things like that. And then Animate CSS for some of the animations. So like, for instance, if you go to schedule, those boxes, they fly in when you go to that page. Or the boss page. So yeah, they animate like that. And then for actual coding, I use a Visual Studio Code. I'm still setting it up because I haven't used it since my Windows 11 wipe. So I'm still working on setting it up. So yeah, Visual Studio Code. Yes, I use light mode. It's believe it or not, the light mode is easier on my eyes than dark mode is. Dark mode, I kind of have to strain in order to read the text, and that gives me headaches. So I have to use light mode, but I do turn my monitor brightness way down, so it kind of more resembles a book instead of something like really bright and in your face. And then, of course, I push this. I have my own rented web server hosted by OVH in the United States. OVH is a really well-known company around the world for hosting web servers and game servers and Minecraft servers and a whole bunch of different things. Virtual private servers. They're well known, and I've had some pretty good experiences with them. So my server is rented through them. They're also pretty inexpensive compared to other companies too. It's not to say that hosting a web server is cheap, mind you. It's actually pretty expensive. But they are one of the cheaper options compared to other companies. So, kind of feel like, yeah, sorry, my background, I see what's happening. The background music that I was playing on the stream was very quiet, so I'll have to make note of that for the future. So I apologize. You haven't been able to really hear the background ambience. That's because I had it turned down to 50 on Elgato, and then I also had it turned down to 20 on the Mix It Up. Okay, anyway, so let's talk development environment. I used to use, prior to my Windows wipe, I used the Uniform web server. And Uniform web server was really nice. I would recommend it. Although it's a little outdated in terms of which versions of PHP are available. And it looks like it hasn't been updated since 2024. So it could use an update. I decided since I wiped Windows and I kind of have a clean slate now, I'm going to try something that is kind of emerging called a Laragon. Now the only issue with Laragon is it's not it's technically not free. You can use it for free, but if you use it for free, then it has that license window that keeps popping up. And then there are also a few restrictions. But otherwise, as far as what I could tell, it functions fairly decently as a local web server for development. So I've been playing around a little bit with it. And what's nice is that it automatically creates virtual host for each of your folders within the www directory. So like my Orcata folder for the website, Orcata website, would become orcata.test in terms of the URL. Composer would become composer.test. So if I were to open a tab right now and type in orcata.test, I get a website. That the local website from my development environment. So that's really cool. And then it has a nice, easy to use interface if you want to install other tools. Like for instance, I could demonstrate right now because one thing I really want to install. Oh, I already installed it. PHP MyAdmin, which is a web-based interface for managing your database, MySQL databases, and things like that. So yeah, that's my development environment. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail in terms of development, because this is mainly to showcase my streaming software and hardware. But that's pretty much it. I do want to talk about a couple of other things. The overlay that you see, so the graphics, like the boxes that you see, the little bat icons, emoji, the target for the goal box, those things. I put those together in Canva, so canva.com. If you're not really good with art like me, I would highly recommend that you give Canva a try because Canva is really nice. They have these, even the free version has quite a decent set of assets that you can use. And they have a nice grid based system to help you align your objects um, correctly so that they're not misaligned, like by a couple of pixels or something OCD like that. Um, the only thing is the free version does have some limitations. One of them being is you cannot export in transparency. So actually, this overlay is transparent, despite me using the free version of Canva. And you may notice if you look really closely at the edges of the boxes that I tried to make it transparent, but it's not perfect. There are a few little edges that I wasn't able to really capture and make transparent if you were to look closely. That's one big limit of the free version of Canva. But all in all, it's still a really good starting point for making an overlay or making, simple graphics if you can't currently afford to commission an artist to do it. Like in my case. Hopefully in the near future I'll be able to, but right now I just can't. Um, so, with that being said, I think we are going to wrap up today's test stream because I don't really have much else to talk about in terms of streaming software or hardware that I use. I think we pretty much covered everything. So, before we go, I do want to tell you what my current streaming schedule looks like. So, Sundays, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, is when I stream Saving Walden. This is a pinball game that I have been developing for a few years now. It developed in the Visual Pinball X open source pinball simulator. And the object is that you are an adventurer in medieval times. You are tasked to save a village from being taken over by a vile beast. And there's going to be a lot of different deep gameplay and rule sets involved with this game. So a lot of different ways to play it. Then on Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. is the Composer CMS. This is a free and open source software that I'm currently the only active developer. And this software helps you build and run websites. And it has a lot of nice features right out of the box to build a website with. That's Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Those are the only two streams right now that I am doing for the month of May. The schedule is subject to change at any time, so I would highly recommend that you join my Discord server to get notified of the latest schedule updates and streams and things like that. To join my Discord server, just go to orcada.live/discord. There's also a Discord link in the About tab on my Twitch profile and also in YouTube that you can click on my YouTube profile. So the schedule will be changing at the end of May. It changes every month, the regular schedule. And I'm hoping to be able to do a couple of the other shows that I do, like the TGIF show and maybe Orcada Plays, if my computer will cooperate and not do what it did on Saturday. We'll have to see. There might also be another series coming soon. I'm going to be making and developing a website for a VTuber group that we are forming. So you'll get more details about that VTuber group in the future, but right now it's still in the development stage. Alright, with that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's stream. And if you like what you saw, please consider making a donation either through subscribing to the Discord server or leaving a donation on my Stripe, which is on my About tab on my profile. Your donations will help me afford to stream more often. And you'll also get perks, including ducats that you can use for redeems. With that being said, everybody, thank you for tuning into today's stream, and hopefully we'll see you on Friday for a Composer CMS development stream. But for now, I am Morkata signing off. Everybody have a great evening, and take care. Have a spooky, spooky evening. Ah, ah, ah.